Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Green Factor, a show where we talk about green design and the business of sustainability. I'm your host, Haris, the Green Carpenter, and today we'll be talking about public relations strategy. With me today, we have Mr. Poovenraj Kanagaraj, or Raj, with us today. Hi, Raj.
Hi, Karith. Thank you for having me here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming in. So just to share a little bit to our audience, I think for me personally, why I invited you to be part of the conversation is, for me personally, I've gotten a lot of media and attention, and we use few PR strategies in terms of getting our brand knows and basically growing the business. So for us, it's been a good tool or strategy, as it's also in a way inexpensive. It's
Mhm.
weird because people always think that it's expensive, but for us, it's one of the inexpensive way to grow the business and our audience. So that's why I feel like more people should know, and then I also want to learn more about the space. So that's why we bring here Raj, as you have vast experience in this. So thank you very much again. So I think before we go into the topic, for the benefits of our viewers and listeners, can you just share a little bit about your journey and what you are doing currently?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Harit. My name is Raj, as introduced by Harit. I run Disruptor Malaysia. So Disruptor, when you access Disruptor, it's a news website. Why news website which you could see entrepreneurs listing their opinions, news cover from day-to-day events. We also list entrepreneurs. We let them voice out their opinions. So Disruptor as a whole is a platform for entrepreneurs to put their voice out. I'm also a communications consultant and a strategist, and I help smaller businesses and startups with their either com strategy, or if they're looking to, depending on which phase they are, and they might need different help with public relations, communications. I assist them with that as well. So I've done healthcare PR. I've helped startups with their PRs as well, from different sizes of startups. I am still working with some social enterprises as a consultant to guide them through their communication strategy as well, or even in different events that they might be in. I started out as a reporter with BFM a couple of years back, and I went on to report on mostly business, day-to-day news, and health topics as well. I've trained in Berlin, Singapore, and I worked in Cambodia, reporting on business news as well. And then I came back to Malaysia just 8 days before the MCO, to run BT as an editor, Business Today. So Business Today was a magazine. I set up the online and the social media and newsletter strategy for that. And after running it for 2 years, I went on to the government side to do PR as well. And but Disruptor as a whole has been running on for about 3 years. So I've done consultations, news writing, PR strategy. So I still do that to today as well.
Hmm, understand. So, by having this stretch of working in the industry, what do you think are the common misconception of misunderstanding of PR?
Yes, there are plenty to begin with, right? But the word PR, the acronym PR is, it stands for public relations, but the practice that it has sort of brought practice in the last couple of years, people would think PR is actually press release. And that's not what PR is all about, right? But of course, nowadays, or even in the last few years, uh, or maybe a company wants to do an event, and the first thing they would say is, okay, when can we launch a press release, and when can we get media coverage? And that's their whole concept of public relations. But of course, traditionally, that would have been the case decades ago. But today, PR encompasses your communication strategy. You have to look into social media. You have to look into public speaking. When your CEO or a spokesperson goes into events, how do you handle press conferences? So there's actually this concept outside that a PR person's, when someone is practicing PR, their parents will never know what they're doing because they're doing everything across the board, and that's what businesses have that understanding too. Of course, I think the misconception is slowly evolving, and people are getting to know PR better. But it is still a very much misunderstood topic where people think PR means press release and not public relations, or public relations actually means press release, but it isn't. It encompasses a whole wide, spectrum of duties, from your events to your press release to news clippings, press conferences, even your Facebook Live is something I would consider as public relations, because that's part of a strategy that may or may not work for you, but that's for a different topic. But it encompasses a whole variety of activities or initiatives.
Mm. Understand. So yes, I do in a way agree and see it in a way that it's more than just press release. But at the same time, it's what I see PR is anything that gets to outside. It's like part
Mhm.
of our communication. So marketing also depend on it, your social posts and all that. So that's why I saw it as something like really big. So
Yeah.
when a lot of people talk to me about PR, a lot of them say it's for big companies, it's for
Yeah.
like um, it's
I think,
expensive and all
yeah.
that. So I think there's a lot of misconception there. So
Yeah,
maybe
and
we
people
can
tend to
talk more
think
about it.
that marketing is also part of PR, right? But marketing is something you spend money, right? And of course, if you're a company and you don't have an in-house PR person, then you're actually spending money for an agency. But what the agency does is they're not spending money to get you those coverages or to prepare you for speaking sessions, right? So we will say PR is earned media, while marketing is more of a paid media, right? Because you're putting in money. You have to have a balance of both. You cannot just say I'm going to
Of
do
course.
PR and not marketing because I don't want to spend any money. Then you're not going to
Mm.
really feel the impact of it.
So it needs to work concurrently, right?
Yes, actually, I think now it's even more difficult for businesses for everything to work concurrently, right? Because the bigger companies, you have the resources to actually have different departments, right? Some companies will even have PR as a separate department, communications as a separate department, marketing, and then you have digital marketing, right? So you have four of these components that kind of work, but smaller companies and startups, they don't have that resources to the luxury to
Mm.
do this. So you'll find
Mm.
like one person doing all four jobs, right?
Mm.
But yes, you have to work concurrently, and you have to find a way of, how do I kind of, finding the fit is very, it'll be a challenge at the start.
Mm.
But you have to try out all of these channels first, and then I think within, when time comes, you will know, oh, maybe TikTok doesn't work for me because my customers are not,
Audience.
my audiences are not B2C, but they're more B2B. But you may not know it at the start, or we saw a lot of this pivoting during pandemic, right? So it has to work concurrently, but eventually you can decide, oh, maybe this doesn't work because I can save time. That I don't have to
Mm.
keep spending resource and time on something that doesn't work for
Mm.
me. But you have to have all of it work concurrently.
So, in terms of large organization, of course, they have all those in place. They also have funds. But
Mhm.
let's scale down a little bit and talk about SMEs or social enterprise and of a smaller, even micro companies and all that. So,
Mm.
why are PR important for this kind of organization as well?
Right. I think getting your message out is a form of an initiative that comes under PR, right? When you start selling products, you start selling your services, you also want to show people that why am I doing it? I'm not just selling a product because I just want to make money. That's not going to jive very well with the B2C, consumers. If your product is just, you're just selling it for the sake of it, I think people like storytelling. People like the message behind your product. How meaningful is it? So one example I can give is, you have a lot of startups today that are using the SDGs, the 17 SDGs as a target, right? So they'll say, okay, I want to reduce water consumption. There's an SDG for that. I want to save the environment, or I want to, my work should benefit single moms or children. There are SDGs for that. And people are attracted to this sort of messaging and strategy as well, right? And PR comes in to actually help you to effectively relay that message to the public. So it is very important. What I've seen is a lot of founders think that, oh, just because I have a marketing team, that I have a sales team, it means that it's going to work. But it doesn't work that way, right? You cannot abandon PR, because even with sales team, you need to give them what is my messaging that I would want the public to know me about. How, and how can they relay it effectively to the public? The CEO or the co-founder can't constantly be going out and meeting people directly, right? You need to have a proper understanding, a proper message guideline, so that your team, who I would consider to be the ambassadors of the company, to really relate that to the public. And I think that's why PR is important. It has to be part. Your company needs to have, we even sometimes you will even find PR people even creating the mission, vision, and the all these statements of the companies, right? And this is also something that the PR person can do. We are, PR, a PR person is a multitasker, right? They help you to really navigate through this ecosystem and make sure your message gets out there effectively. Unless you are telling me that you want to run a business by just selling product, then maybe that's a completely different case. But if you want to be recognized for a meaningful aim or meaningful mission, PR can really help you to put the word out there.
Hmm. Understand. Yeah, I love the way you put it out. It's like if you just want to sell, maybe marketing is one thing, but if you wanna in a way sell the cause or like those kind of thing, it's best to look into PR as a alternative to it. So I think like the misunderstanding comes from not knowing the difference between marketing and also PR. So roughly now, like you've shared, like the marketing in a way is more of the paid kind of thing, and PR is more of the earn, right? And what we have been getting is we got a lot of these media covering us because of what we do. So that is where we earn that. And by having that earn thing, because we have been featured in so many media, it values millions.
Yep.
So it's important for me as a company. So that's why I feel like we say, the cost attracts the PR as well. And normally media also, they want to feature not just selling, is the people or the cause behind it.
But
So
I
I
do
love the
want
way you say.
to, highlight that point, and I would use you as an example as well, right? Because when you speak to the media, and I've seen your interviews, right? Uh, of course, you have your tagline that you're the green competitor,
Mm,
right? And that's good PR in a way, because the media people have started to get to know you as a green competitor as well. But you do know that when you get the coverage, you don't just say, okay, now I dapat link, I just keeping the link like this. What do I do? You would end up sharing it via WhatsApp. You would share it via social media or email or even your company newsletter. And these are actually forms of news PR that a
mm,
lot of founders don't really realize, that they think, because like I just going back to the misconception, right? PR means press release and media. And I think it ends there. So then the question comes up, oh, why is it that the Star covered me, but nobody's buying my product? Why is it
mm,
that I was featured in Bloomberg or CNN and nobody's buying my product? Even when you see the bigger companies, the unicorns, right? PR is here to boost the confidence of your B2C consumers. At the end of the day, the consumers are self-thinking individuals, right? They're not going to buy a product no matter how much you're featured if it's not going to benefit them. But sometimes they would be in between that line where, should I buy or should I not buy? I want it, but I don't know if it's a necessity. And I think when you see a lot of this media coverage, and then the media coverage is translated into social media posting, newsletter posting, it's like I would describe it as a little push for them to go over to the, yes, I think I need it because it
mm,
looks good for me. I want it. I'm supporting people. With social enterprises, you would often see this, because with social enterprise, that their messaging is the most important tool for them, right? For example, any social enterprise that supports B40 women or single parents or the youth, um, and the moment that their message goes out effectively, people will want to buy, because for people, I'm not just supporting the business, I'm actually supporting the women, right? I know what I'm buying. This is, I have a cost to the buying part. So
mm,
it's sometimes it really influences people and it boosts up their confidence. But just going back, you said use it concurrently, but use it effectively across different channels at the same time. And
mm.
someone who might be following you on Facebook, and you might have another person who may not be following your Facebook but follows your newsletter. So that's why, PR is just a tool to boost that confidence and to really make it a bit more concrete with your consumers.
Mm,
Just a
understand,
little push, but
understand.
at the end of the day, it's up to your messaging as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. So, and every little push help, right?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think as an entrepreneur, I think you will know that, even that one or two push can really help in the long run, right?
Correct, correct.
So
Yeah. So, I think we've covered it in the importance, and I think a lot of people do understand that it's important, but they don't know how to do it because they thought it's a territory of the big boys. So the next question is like, where do this company start?
mm, I think that's a very good question, right? And I speak to entrepreneurs, I speak to founders on a day-to-day basis. I meet them for coffee, and first thing they'll tell me is, I don't want to spend money, right? I think it's expensive. It's not my concern. I need to make sure the company gets to go on a, make sure we get to keep surviving for the next coming weeks or the next coming months. And I saw this a lot during the pandemic, but I also saw a lot of companies who had, kind of adopted PR and make sure their marketing went up, their marketing strategies, their PR strategies, doubled, and it kind of benefited them in the long run. And I think for companies that are small, I just start with the startup or the SME founders. I think you have to recall, the first thing I always tell them is, you are your company's ambassador, right? You are the spokesperson. So who better than to promote the company than yourself? Why not start, if you're a CEO, why not start from a platform like LinkedIn, right? I started on LinkedIn. I encourage founders to start on LinkedIn as well. And bit by bit, you just start with 2 posts a week, and then you move on to 3 posts. People will start engaging with you, and then when people get to engage with your posts, they're actually engaging with your brand and your product and your services as well. I've seen founders who don't want to post at all, and then went on to post 2 to 3 posts a week, and then will come and tell me, you know what, Raj, I think there are people who've got to know what we are doing now, people who may not read the media very often, but they're always on LinkedIn, for example. They now want to know how they can engage us for service, right? I think you have to start small. Don't think too big. Don't think, I just want to be on the star or the edge or whatsoever it is. Think small first, go by baby steps. And I think you could start with your LinkedIn account, create one. I often give workshops in tailors and, like, places like Sunway. And the first thing I always say is, yes, everyone wants to be featured in the media, but start small by creating your own personal branding, right? Go on LinkedIn. If you have a content team or a communications team, start a small newsletter once a week, right? Sometimes you can be once a month as well. If you don't have the time, you don't have the luxury or the resources to spend, start once a month. Record whatever your company is doing, initiatives you're going on ground events. You want to sell a new product. What are some of your thoughts? Why, what was the inspiration behind the product? Put it on a newsletter, send it out. You may not see followership go up immediately, but if you keep promoting on your social media, on your personal, just tell people, you know what, guys, let's get it subscribed. Share it to your friends and family. You will see that traction pick up. But of course, it also comes to what kind of content. Another thing that I don't see a lot of founders or teams doing, and this might be because they have very small teams, is they don't keep their websites updated, right? You need to keep your websites updated. Even when you get a media coverage, just have a newsroom on the top of your website and keep it updated. People do visit your website, right? They would want to see, okay, these are the products, these are the services, and why should I buy it, right? Like I said, it's not any media coverage could be a small push to boost the confidence of a buyer to buy the product, right? So you want your platform, your website. These are what I call internal tools. Your website is a free to use product that you could just update anytime. You could update your media coverage. You have a blog on your website. You have to put your thoughts. You want to put out certain inspirational things behind the product. Be personal with your consumers. So you already have that free tool, right, sitting right there, right? And this is what I would say, maximize the usage of the internal tools first, right? Before you decide, okay, I'm going to go to the media, I want to be featured on the Star. Use your internal tools. Your social media accounts is another tool, your fourth tool that you could use. Your social media accounts, right? Your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Twitter. You have company social media, you've got personal social media, right? So always use the internal tools to maximize your output, and then you move on to hiring an agency when you reach a certain size, or you want to engage the media, you want to start pitching. Always make sure your internal tools are ready first. That's a good start. Don't just jump into getting an agency, or getting a consultant to come in and say, okay, I want to get media coverage. No, get someone to look into your internal guidelines, your internal comms, and then use these tools first. And why I say this is because when you don't maximize your tools and founders are not familiar with how do I communicate on my personal branding and my company social media, you are not going to be able to communicate effectively with a PR agency or a social media agency, because you don't really know, okay, what do I do first, right? You need to familiarize yourself with these tools first and see what messaging it goes effectively outside. Because, for example, even when you talk on LinkedIn, right, you post something, you will see comments coming. Those comments are actually your feedback. Oh, people like this, I got 7 likes, not gonna work, right? Doesn't mean you stop, but how do I tweak it to make it get 100 likes, right?
Mm,
Engage other CEOs. So start small, start internal. I always say start internally first. Get someone to look into it internally, rather than go outside immediately.
understand. So I resonate with what you say just now. Because for me personally, because I've been doing it for more than a decade right now. It started off like personal branding and on Instagram and Facebook, and then eventually it goes to LinkedIn, and now we're getting those traction because we did the initial study, and it takes a long time for you to achieve that. But at
Yeah,
the same time, it also assures that it needs to be done step by step.
yeah.
Of course, before this, we only see social media as a marketing tool or a communication tool. Now, from what you have described, it's actually more of a PR strategy. And for me, I'm initially I don't like to be on social media. I don't like, even before social media, I don't post selfie or food or whatever. I detest social media at first, but eventually I come to a realization you have to be out there, and that's why I decided to put myself out there, and it done well for me. But like you say, it needs to be step by step, and what I found help the process is you really need to understand what the company is doing, the
Mm,
processes, the core, so it helps you reflect internally. Because like if you want to, because like PR is more about communication, so you can't really communicate if you don't know clearly what you are doing.
right.
So right now, even eventually the next level and all that, it's about the angle. Now we are talking, when we talk about to press or media, we talk about angle. So that is a different kind of things to play as well. But of course, if it's done well for me, and it's for me is the cheapest way to market, because we don't have much money for advertising and all that, but we have the social that helps us, and it does well. So thank you very much for sharing that, and we do need to go step by step, and eventually, like you say, once you utilize internal, then you can go for external. So let's look at some case study. Do you have anything you can share, especially small company, yeah, not big company?
Okay. So
uh,
I do work with some brands like Project ID. They are a social enterprise. 10 years, right? They've been going on for 10 years, and they just reached out to me last year, late last year. And the thing is, because I have been involved in advocating social enterprise through the media, I was well aware of them. But their problem was, people know me, but people may not know the brand, for example, right? And so, what I would tell, and what I've noticed is the founder was a great ambassador of the brand, because he was a Genti honoree. He was an Acumen Fellow, and he's one of the, I think, one of two Malaysian social entrepreneurs who was named Obama leader yesterday as well. So with everything going on, he's done quite well for his personal branding as a Project ID CEO, but he also had a problem of, how do I develop Project ID, for example. So what we did is, what we went in is, you have a lot of on-ground events, right? But when I was, looking into the on-ground events, and we were having an audit and dissecting what works where, you would realize that, one, I look at it as a physical and social initiatives, right? When you say physical initiatives, and this is quite basic, is that it will start very simple from the shirt you wear to the buntings, right? You may not have the luxury or the resource to spend on billboards, and nobody's asking you to spend on billboard because you're a small company, right? But if you want people to be familiar with your logo and your branding, then you need materials, physical materials first, right? I would say go as simple as creating a team T-shirt, have buntings, and always have materials where people can just flip open and realize what is Project ID and what are they doing, right? And so we were starting to see that, yes, they had great spokesperson as a team, very proactive team, but the materials may be lacking, right? So this is where we were working on trying to, we were reaching out to 50 students at sometimes, or faculties, universities, but when you don't have those materials, you kind of you're wasting the opportunity to actually get into these people, because you have to understand that people's attention span on ground events, that yes, they will come, they'll see you, but if they have nothing to take home and read, or just to engage while they're there, then that's a wasted opportunity. Always go physical. Always think of, yes, I want to have services, I want to put out my services, but if you know what your messaging is, translate this into physical copies, right? As human beings, we are so used to sitting down in a clinic, or any store, and then if there's a material that, even your saloon, your barber shop, right, if there's a material, you're going to pick up the material and read through it, right? And it's the same when you do on-ground events as well, and a lot of companies do on-ground events nowadays to promote their services and their branding. So you need to get the people to be familiar with your logo and your branding, right? And the next thing would be your social copies, your e-copies, right? The same physical copy that you have done, make sure it's translated to social media content as well, right? You need to ensure that when you do an event, always have a checklist. Do I have the physical copies? Do I have the pamphlets? Do I have the brochures? Am I doing a pre-event push out? Am I doing a ongoing event coverage, whether it's your Instagram live, your Facebook live, and then after that, post-event coverage as well. So these are things that sounds very basic, but people tend to not consider them, right? They think, okay, my aim tomorrow is to just go and make sure that I get 100 people database, right? Now, I'm also going to go into that, where your database, after the event, you have this database of people signing in and writing their names and the emails, right? That becomes a very good newsletter database. So if you just think of it, if you don't have a newsletter to put your messaging out there, then your database might just be sitting around and thinking, you are going to think, I'm just going to use it to make cold calls and get them to subscribe my service. But you also have to understand, you want to maximize the potential of those databases. So make sure that you have a newsletter, right? I've seen clients, even Project ID, they have a very good newsletter, and we are looking at the flow of how the newsletter works, right? And once you've actually done this, you have your physical copies ready, your social copies, social media materials ready, you have your newsletter, and then you're thinking, okay, now I want to go into media, right? So once you have all these materials ready, you actually have your responses technically ready, because you are working with your team to come up with the messaging. You are working on delivering, this is what we do, this is how we are doing, this is what we have achieved, right? And when you have that media interview come in, you are actually taking on all these materials and translate them into a verbal communication with the media. So you have to look at it like with Project ID, and is that I always tell them, okay, you have a great website, but you're not updating your social media coverage, for example. And so the CEO, who had also gone on to update the website, has now also taken up the practice of updating his LinkedIn twice a week, right? When I first met him, his last post was 3 months ago. Now he does it twice a week, and that twice a week has translated to 50 likes, 100 likes. We have seen postings that does not go beyond 11 likes, but we have seen postings that go beyond 50 likes, right? That's something I really want to encourage, right? Of course, he also told me the same thing you told me, Harriet. I do not like to post. I do not like to be on. I am too busy. But I'm telling him, take 10 minutes out of your day. And now he's, of course, you will start to enjoy that attention people give you on social media, right? I'm not saying it just to boost ego, but it's good to let people, you are actually keeping the people that you engage with, or people who your partners, right? Sometimes you will find that your company clients or company partners are also very active on LinkedIn. You're keeping them on the loop, right? You want them to come back next year. You want them to keep coming back to you. Let
Mm.
them be in the loop. So with him, we have actually, we are still on a trial basis, but we are, he's now getting used to the fact that, okay, I'm going to post twice. I'm going to update my website. My team, there's a SOP. You're actually building an SOP for your comms team. Maybe the person that you hire is not a comms person, but with the SOPs, when you start doing it on a day-to-day basis, so you don't want to just go and do an event. Okay, I do an
Mm.
event, I've gotten the database, I go home, I'm going to tell my team, do cold calls. It's not going to work. This is not the 90s, right? Where you just do event, you get phone calls, and then habis. People want to
Mm.
constantly be, you want to keep engaging with them to constantly have their attention as well. So that's something that I would definitely encourage. Um, I've also worked with companies where PR was not their priority, right? And then we'll think, okay, so then they get to me and they say, "Oh, look, we do about one or two media coverages a month, and we are very happy." But I said,
Mm.
but you are actually wasting your opportunity. You have a lot of, because some companies, you will have footfalls, higher footfalls as you grow. When you grow the company, even smaller companies, when you grow, use digital marketing, you will have higher footfalls. But how do you keep engaging those footfalls, right? Why
Mm.
do you want to grow using digital marketing? Then people come in, they may buy your product once, but then if you don't keep engaging them, that's something that you have to consider as well. So some of the companies
Understand.
I work with, yeah, some of the companies I work with, they would have gone straight away into a PR agency, but they may not know how to manage it. Right? And
Mm.
then the
They
relationship.
even don't have enough material to share as well, right?
Correct. So what I did was, I they had, of course, it's a new company. Then we had about 3 to 4 floors, right? And then customers could actually go into this floor to get this services, or the next floor to get another services. And I realized that they had TV screens, right? The TV screen, they were just putting, Happy Chinese New Year, or Selamat Hari Raya,
Mm.
or get your number, those
Mm.
ticketing numbers. But I'm thinking, you have those screens. Why not put our, we did TV interviews last year.
Mm.
Let's put it up.
Let it
Let's,
run lah.
yeah, let it run.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
These things come with subtitles, right? And let people watch it. People are going to be sitting there. If you have a big line, you're in a queue. People do want to sit there. So we were finding
Mm.
points. Think of your company space, especially if you have people walking in. Think of it. How do I build an experience for them? So that's also something,
Mm.
public relations, right? Because you,
Mm.
from the moment they walk in, right? They want to see, oh, maybe there's a board here that says Green Factory says this is, because that's how I
Mm.
got. We
Yeah.
went on the tour, and I was actually reading about Green Factory while I was there as well. So to
Mm.
me, it's about building an experience. If you don't think,
Mm.
public relations are all about consumers. If you don't think of the, how do I build an experience for the consumer, then you're not giving your consumers a reason to come back.
Mm. So Raj,
Hmm.
there's a lot of things to digest from the conversation. But I do feel like the having that experiential something that we need to really talk, because there's a lot of touch point for
Hmm.
people right now. The touch point is more and more when people start to see us and buy. So like you say, you have to see the customer journey and see where are the points that you can elevate, or like you say, a little push, right?
Yeah.
So my next question or final question is like, where is this heading? What's the future of PR? What are the new things coming in that we need to be aware of?
Yeah. I think, with PR, and I'm seeing this a lot with smaller startup founders as well, right? You must have a personal goal, and you must have a company goal as well, and make sure they are aligned with one another as well. And PR is constantly evolving, right? When maybe 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you just want to make sure that your news gets to the your whole PR concept was press release, press conference, media coverage. It was quite simple, and PR, but PR will always be challenging because it was always challenging back then. It's going to be challenging now, but now it's and just ensuring that whatever you do, think of it as what channels do I have to really maximize, right? Improve your storytelling skills. Make sure your company is subscribed to multiple social media accounts or multiple channels, whether it's a newsletter, uh, physical events, FB lives, all these kind of things, right? PR is constantly evolving, and it evolves as your business evolves. As you grow bigger, you have bigger departments, more departments. Your PR strategy will also evolve to kind of encompass all of that, right? As a small business, you may have just one goal and then one personal goal as well, and PR will be able to cover that, and then will put your messaging out. But as you grow, your PR strategy will also be evolving to actually grow different messaging. Different departments, different people that you hire might have different thoughts and different goals as well. So in that
Mm,
sense, I think PR will always be needed for businesses, because as you evolve, your messaging is going to change. What you
mm,
may have, your messaging, your words, the keywords that you used 10 years ago may not be the same keywords you use now, right? And that's
mm,
how, and that's actually, and you would actually start thinking, look, I've expanded my company to maybe you started out with maybe energy, right? Then you're going to go into maybe housing or residential, and you see this with the bigger companies, right? And you will see that their messaging for different departments have also changed. Maybe it been broken down, right? The tagline may stay the same, but your messaging will be different. So in that sense, I think it's important. It will always be there, whether you like it or not, or whether you want to incorporate it, or whether you want to get an agency. PR is a day-to-day thing. Even when you speak to people, when you go for a networking event, if you do not know what to speak or what messaging, then it's a wasted opportunity, right? So it's a definitely must. It will definitely be there. And I really encourage startup founders to actually start considering PR as well, right? It's not about just I'm coming in, I have a product, I want to sell the product, I'm putting in money to sell the product, but who's going to look into your communications, and who's going to look into your internal communications, right? And I always say this to founders as well, like when you have great PR outside, your employees are naturally motivated to know we should do more so we can get more of that, right? And I've
mm,
seen that happen. And I think founders have yet to really grasp that idea. So I do hope they would consider having PR, because I hear a lot of this, and I meet a lot of businesses, startup founders, right, on a day-to-day basis. When you see these cohorts come out, and then you'll see that maybe 24 companies, and then you'll see 10. Yes, I really know that 10, but who are the other 10? How come
mm,
the other 10 can become unicorn when nobody have heard of them, right? That means
mm,
they're doing very well operationally, but they're not doing well outside. And this is where your investors are going to see, your investors are definitely going to Google you up for sure
mm,
before they
mm,
decide. Very basic research tool, right? They're going to Google you up, and they're going to look at your Google News. Um, and they're going to think, oh, okay, the last time this guy was in the media was 2009, for example, right? So with PR, even with companies that are going for your investment, your Series A fundraising, PR actually is very important. And why I know this is, um, you would have founders coming to me 1 week before their Series A or their whatever fundraising. Can I get media coverage today or this week? I see you
yeah,
think the investor will not be able to look at the timestamp and the data.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, I think, Raj, what I see based on the conversation and all that, APR is a must, is a strategy, but where does it falls? And what I'm seeing is a lot of it comes under the comms. So communication. So like you say, external communication, we always know that it's about external, but at the same time, it's internal. So that's where like newsletter, even the way you operate internally needs to have some PR strategy because it helps with like maintaining talents, also getting new talents and all that. So it's part of the comm strategy from my side, but I feel like it encompasses certain elements of marketing and operations as well. So with that, I think we are at the end of the show. I know there's a lot of things I want to talk or want to ask, but let's leave it to another session maybe. So thank you very much, Raj, for coming and sharing. For our audience and listener, if you want to contact Raj, you can contact him on LinkedIn, or you can email disruptor@gmail.com. Um, from our side, from my side, I've been doing it for quite some time, so I love having you talk in a way that, oh, it makes sense to what I am doing as well. So it helps me in terms of consolidating what we've been doing all this while, and I'm glad we have this conversation. So thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, Ian Raj.
Yeah.
For the
So,
audience, if you find this content beneficial and might help few of your friends, do share it. And we'll see you next week. As always, have a green week ahead. Bye bye, guys.